Hi, I'm Ted Nelson. Woody Allen said, "Posterity is the religion of the intellectuals." I grew up in that kind of home where posterity mattered. We quoted Shakespeare and poetry, and we kept our own papers, writings and letters, my grandmother's novels and wonderful portraits. But who is posterity, and what will they remember? They say you can't live in the past, but in fact, many do. Historians, preservationists, the wonderful writers Marcel Proust and Vladimir Nabokov made it legitimate to think and dream about one's own past in detail. But living in the past costs money. Someone has to support you, even if you're just thinking or writing. And if you're keeping things, books, artifacts, manuscripts, they have to be put somewhere and kept dry and safe. Lately, I've had to throw away books into a community dumpster, and that has brought home to me the problem of keepage and remembrance. You can't keep as much as you want to, and the cost and difficulty of storage can grow and grow. There are several resource dimensions: money, space, time, attention, memory space, human or digital. Many people don't have room for what they want to keep. That's why there's mini storage, where people keep the things they don't have time to look at. The problem is the same for individuals, nations, and civilizations. What will be kept, and where, and who will keep it dry? Okay, the mists of time. Heinz von Förster, a great friend of mine in his later years, made an interesting discovery when he was younger. You can look it up. That's Vonfoerster. He discovered that what we know about the past diminishes as the logarithm of how long ago it was. We have concepts about fewer and fewer events in the distant past. It's logarithmic. We know less and less the farther back. Myths, rumors condensed into a more or less shared narrative. History becomes streamlined. Details disappear. And shared histories in turn degenerate into stereotypes and vague impressions. Quote, "History is a set of lies agreed upon. So said Napoleon, and before him Voltaire, and before him Fontenelle." I found that somewhere. I don't know what I'm quoting. And I don't know who Fontenelle was, which is an example of von Förster's forgetting. We cherish our memories, as individuals and as cultures. There is a continuum among knowledge, nostalgia, and caring. But the spirit, the feeling of what it was like at a certain time in history is lost when people who remember it all die off. With souvenirs, we try to preserve moments, but another person looking at the souvenir does not see the miasma around it that we remember. The feeling of a moment dies with the person. When the last person who remembers and cares is gone, then a moment or a time or a culture is truly dead, except for what is written and gets into the main books and courses. Here's an interesting word: saeculum, spelled S-A-E-C-U-L-U-M. Its main meaning, the meaning I like, is, quote, "the length of time till everyone who experienced something has died." For example, I'm one of the last people in the saeculum that remembers Pearl Harbor. I was sitting on my grandfather's lap at the age of 4 when the concert we were listening to was interrupted by the announcement of the attack, and my grandfather wept. So in a few years, when I'm gone, and so is the rest of that saeculum, no one will remember what that moment was really like. Official history, world events are important to become the school curriculum, but the anecdotes that make history come alive are tucked in obscure places in personal reminiscences. Consider this book, Stranger at the Party, by Helen Lawrenson. She says 3 amazing things, and I believe her. 1, that Franklin Delano Roosevelt wanted to support the Spanish Republic in the Spanish Civil War, but was unable to politically because they were very left-wing. 2, that she was twice raped by Rabbi Stephen Wise. She's quite forgiving about it. These events are not mentioned on his Wikipedia page. 3, that Condé Nast, the publisher, loved to perform cunnilingus on her in New York taxicabs, holding his pince-nez in the air. That's not on his Wikipedia page. Now, these are the kinds of personal detail that don't make it into the mainstream of memory. They're in books of reminiscence, but don't get into the curriculum as bullet points. There are thousands of wonderful books of reminiscence, autobiographies, with wonderful anecdotes, but those anecdotes stay tucked away from the mainstream, and you can't read them all. As Heinz von Förster said, memory is logarithmic. Let's talk about science. Scientific data is hard to hang on to. Congress has made it a law that all the data for federally funded scientific research has to be kept available for future researchers. That's the law. The problem is, it's impossible. My colleague Christine Borgman of UCLA has shown that there's no way such data sets can be kept, and kept accurately, except by continual curation and migration to new forms of storage as digital conventions change, which costs a lot and which Congress did not fund. So, law or not, that congressional law cannot be obeyed, and those data sets are dying. We lose the past two ways, in small and in large. We lose the past in smallish amounts, in small pieces of memory or books that are lost, sometimes because there's no room, sometimes through accident and deterioration. It's also budgetary. Libraries can't keep all the arriving books. Museums can't hang on to all their specimens. Museums are wonderful, but they cost money to preserve and care for the contents. The lucky museums get money from their visitors, others are in more trouble. But mainly we lose the past in massive events, such as whatever ended the Library of Alexandria. There are different theories. Many libraries and museums have been wiped out over the centuries, including the Brazilian National History Museum just now in 2019, losing many fabulous collections. Now, those of us who keep a lot of stuff are called hoarders. But some people who keep a lot of stuff, usually the very rich, like Katharine Graham of the Washington Post, are not called hoarders. No, people who have the money to keep a lot of stuff are called archivists. So-called hoarders are wannabe archivists who keep beyond their means. In closing, what will last from these times? Right now, individuals and companies are paying for cloud service from Amazon, from Google, from Microsoft, and from startups. Will all those disk drives be turning 50 years from now? Thank you.